This needs to be Wildcard Gaming's tournament if they want to go toe-to-toe with Method Black. If they want to pull ahead and be the top team in Europe, that needs to get set up here. ABC going to look to thwart that and get out of the slump that they've been in for quite some time now. My name is Rich. I'm going to be your host, joined by Zico, Supertees, and Venruki. How do we see ABC break the curse that has been casted upon them?
Well, I think it just comes down to compositions. What have they prepared in the oven during these weeks since we last saw them? We've been seeing them run a lot of Mage, Ellie, Resto Druid compositions. I'm not sure if that's going to be what it takes to take down Wildcard Gaming. We know Wildcard Gaming has beaten Method Black, running that Moonkin, Ellie, and Resto Druid against the Mage, Ellie. So we know that Wildcard Gaming has the answer. So it's up to ABC to kind of come up with something new. Their Windwalker Mage hasn't really been effective enough, I think, to take down what Wildcard Gaming brings. So I want to see something completely different from them. Maybe Alec on that Warlock and we are going to get Alec on that Warlock. So this is very interesting. The Warlock, of course, is going to be very effective at shutting down a lot of these other spellcasters. And Wildcard Gaming, of course, expected that Mage Ellie to come out from ABC.
So Zico asked the question, what did ABC prepare in the composition kitchen? The answer is going to be Warlock and Shaman. Is this going to be enough to take down Wildcard Gaming?
Let's see if ABC have dotted their I's and crossed their T's here in game number 1, as they have been in a long-standing slump as a team overall. Again, with a good opportunity at a good performance here in the upper bracket still against Wildcard Gaming. Will this Destruction Warlock of Alec be the X factor that his team needs? Obviously, Asgroth and Jamie, veteran on that Elemental Shaman and Resto Druid combination. Maro getting pinned down around the corner. Looney jumping over to save the day, managing to connect a couple heals in a critical moment. Later on in the match, though, that is going to be a kill for the team of ABC, and Maro cannot afford to make positional errors such as that.
Well, Alec traded it a lot there. It was the Infernals as well as the Dark Soul, and while those cooldowns are active, Destruction Warlocks are King Wizards. Jamie in midfield now taking quite a bit of pressure. A defensive Mortal Coil coming in from Alec to sort of slow down Maro a little bit on this incarnation as he looks to push forward and get some pressure rolling. This is a composition we've seen from Wildcard Gaming in the past. They play the Elemental Shaman with the Moonkin. When incarnation's up, they like to play very aggressive. When it is down, they like to play a little bit more passive, just try to get their damage over time effects rolling and try to out-mana attrition, basically, the enemy team. We'll have to see if Asgaroth can sit down for those drinks in this matchup. I think he can, with Alec in the midfield spamming out fears and spamming out damage. It's not going to be easy for Maro and Zeepai to push in and shut down some of those drinks.
I do think the Destruction Warlock reigns king in the Wizard Cleave meta currently enabling itself, so Alec has made a smart decision to try and bring in this specialization to find victory for his team in the upper bracket. I'm really wondering if Wildcard Gaming were expecting a Wizard Cleave matchup, because we don't often see them run this balanced Druid and Elemental Shaman if they were worried about a Rogue Mage, and ABC is obviously a veteran Rogue Mage, so they were maybe expecting that and ultimately losing the blind pick as a result of that prediction. ABC just in center field, channeling out tons of damage, and now getting denied though as Maro's incarnation is active. How much can he get done with it is the question during that small Arcanic Pulsar window. Not too much. Jamie cycloned at kind of low health. Now they switch their attention to Asgaroth, but they deny the Lightning Lasso. Good denial on Jamie's part. Looney moves across the map. Curious to see what he's trying to get done. He actually just walks into Asgaroth's bash, and now Asgaroth repositions to the opposite side of the map, Looney expects crowd control, activates Iron Bark, denying some of the follow-up. Ursul's Vortex holding the team in place for Alec to tee off, potentially not enough in time. Windshear denies that Dark Soul Chaos Bolt.
Yep, definitely does. Alec is slowed down on his damage. That was the Dark Soul, so now Alec's damage has fallen off quite a bit until those Infernals come up in around 30 seconds. I have to see if he opts to use them right away, and this is the kind of flexibility that we wanted to see from ABC. They were struggling against some of these teams like Wildcard Gaming and Method Black, but I think this composition that they brought, Alec on the Destruction Warlock, is really showing some of the flexibility that they have as a lineup. If they can manage to win this series against Wildcard Gaming, it's going to be huge for them. Obviously, it's going to advance them deeper in the tournament, but also it's a huge confidence booster. They've been losing losing against teams like Method Black and Wildcard Gaming consistently week to week. So if they can take down Wildcard Gaming here with these new compositions, I think it's going to fare well for them.
I'm curious what Wildcard Gaming can even pull out of their composition pocket against this setup in particular. Is the Balanced Root Elemental Shaman just their best option overall when facing ABC in this current tournament? Zeepai getting caught in center field. No follow-up, though, on Alec's part. No, Ursul's Vortex pulls them back in. Actually, Chaos Bolt casted on Morrow. Would have liked to seen a bit of better coordinated assault there by ABC, splitting up their damage onto 2 targets and not really netting anything off the back end of it. Zeepai is ready and raring to go with the Lightning Lasso Stormkeeper combo. This could be devastating for Alec, but Wind Shear stalls Zeepai's damage for a couple of global cooldowns. Now instead, Zeepai may be switching his attention to Jamie, but really not getting too much done in this particular matchup. There is no Mortal Wounds effect, no 25% healing reduction by either composition that has been brought into the fray, and Restoration Druid healing is just so potent in general, and in this situation even more so. So it is likely that dampening is required when these compositions go head to head, but when we move deeper into dampening, you need to consider who really has the edge. Now, with an Elemental Shaman and a Balanced Druid, most of their burst damage is instant cast, which means they can line of sight and dish out tons of burst at the same time. Alec does not have that same luxury, with Chaos Bolt being a casted spell. So if Morrow and Zeepai play close to pillars and corners and line of sight Chaos Bolt and dish out Earthshocks and Star Surges, one would expect that deep into dampening that they would have the advantage. So Alec, Asgaroth, and Jamie need to find a way to pin down their target long enough for Chaos Bolt to connect if they want to find a kill.
Yeah, it can definitely be a double-edged sword, though, Alec. Although they might be able to avoid a decent amount of his damage, Destruction Warlocks do have good setup with the Shadow Fury and with the double Mortal Coil. And just one Chaos Bolt late in dampening can put Looney far enough behind where it's basically an irrecoverable situation. So definitely look out for that from Alec. Although it is going to be difficult for ABC to set that up, especially during the late game. But so far, Asgaroth's been doing a really good job with his mana, consistently looking for these drinks. Looney and Asgaroth are tied in this current situation. These are one of those games where it'd be nice to see a damage meter and see exactly how much pressure both of these teams are putting out, as it does matter. It's very relevant in a matchup like this. At 6% dampening, things are going to start heating up for both of these teams. But I think it's unlikely that this matchup really ends unless a big mistake comes in until a little bit later on.
Yeah, most certainly. If mistakes are made, it could cost a blind pick. So there's a lot on the line. They need to keep a level head moving into what is likely to be a very fatiguing series. And like you said, one mistake could cost it. You want to win this blind pick, so they need to stay in the game, so to speak, if they want to find victory here on the Grand Arena. Dampening ramping up, mana establishing itself in favor of Looney, which was expected as his DPS specializations bring more instant cast damage than that of ABC. However, if you are caught in midfield, Chaos Bolt will just tear you apart. So let's see if Wildcard Gaming can keep avoiding Alec while dishing out pain deeper into dampening. Alec stun locked in center field. Zeepai and Morrow are playing the pillars perfectly, and there's really no opportunity for Alec. We are going to need to see Asgaroth push forward at some point with Ursul's Vortex, something along the lines of an Ursul's Vortex, Lightning Lasso, Unending Resolve may even be necessary. So this is normally a defensive cooldown on the Destruction Warlock that reduces incoming damage, but it also has the added effect that it makes you immune to interrupts, so he can avoid Wind Shear from Zeepai and cast out a critical Chaos Bolt during his Infernals. This may be a risk that is necessary for the team of ABC to find a kill, because Wildcard Gaming's composition is so slippery and can easily avoid Chaos Bolt otherwise.
Yep, Alex still looking for Chaos Bolts in the midfield, but just can't find it. Instead, Wildcard Gaming is doing the exact strategy like you thought. Just have Alec basically mitigated. He can't do much damage when everyone's just dipping behind the pillars. Morrow can still get off both of his damage over time effects on multiple targets, taxing Asgaroth's mana. But with this positioning and with the way Wildcard Gaming is playing, Asgaroth is easily able to slip away and find drinks. Now Zeepai under fire, taking a little bit of burst. Looney forced to trade out the Ironbark to keep him alive. Alex still just playing in the midfield, trying to just punish anyone that gets in his line of sight.
Yeah, most certainly is. Alec just constantly playing in midfield, hoping that Wildcard Gaming make an aggressive push, but they don't have to. That's the advantage they have in their composition, and they're just going to play it out. And unless ABC start to become the initiators, maybe use something like the Demonic Gateway to get in and on top of Wildcard Gaming, they're just going to eventually become overwhelmed from Zeepai and Maro's damage type. We do see Jamie finally moving forward and positioning aggressively, but Alec did not push with him. Asgarath is still hanging out very far away from the pillar. They're going to have to pick a point when they want to make a push, but as dampening ramps up higher and higher, they will just fall behind more and more, and making a push when you're behind on damage is very risky to do. Finally, some pressure finding its way towards Maro, but Swiftman immediately recovering most of that exchange. Alex cycloned as Lightning Lasso is committed onto Jamie. Asgarath in a position, though, to easily heal him. Asgarath playing very far away and actually running the Nourish talent, trying to be a bit more mana efficient than Looney in this particular matchup, but no massive exchange of damage just yet. I'm curious to see how high dampening actually gets in this matchup the way that it's going. We may have to start taking bets on it potentially being the highest dampening we've seen yet.
Potentially, I want to make a statement here, and I want you to correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I really feel like Alec could be way more aggressive here. I feel like the Destruction Warlock is so tanky, has so much defense that I don't know why he's not running in, looking for more offensive Shadow Furies, more offensive Mortal Coils, and really punishing Looney even more. Alec's just been playing so passive so far in this match. Zeepai getting punished a little bit by moving into midfield, but now securing ABC's pillar. He should be completely fine, avoiding Alec once again. Maro getting bursted down a little bit. Good pressure here from ABC, as Maro is looking to make a push with his Incarnation, but I just feel like after Incarnation fades, once again, Wildcard Gaming, they're going to play passive and secure that advantage by just throwing out the damage over time effects and really try to tax Asgarath's mana.
I do agree that Alex should be the aggressor and chasing down the enemy team with his Demonic Gateway, but of course, he may not have a lot of experience on that Destruction Warlock, as he is typically a mage player for his team and now trying to flex onto something new, and he may be worried or concerned about throwing the game away by playing too aggressively, and that's something that a player who is a veteran or a specialist on a certain class and specialization will know, is when they can be aggressive, when they can get in the face of their opponent and try and build pressure, or when they need to play defensive. And an inexperienced player will try and take the neutral ground and take no risks, and because of that, the other team can simply just overwhelm and take advantage of a player like that. So I would like to see Alec look for more opportunities to get aggressive, position the Demonic Gateway as a way to push in and get on top of the enemy team. Right now, both sides are playing quite neutrally. Jamie is developing quite a lot of pressure, though, for the team, having both Maro and Zeepai at about half health. Asgarath looking to reset his mana for a late game play here, as 36% dampening continues to ramp up. Finally, some Chaos Bolts have been secured, as Maro needs to get closer to the corner. He gets Earthquake stunned, but they don't actually take advantage of that to cast a Chaos Bolt. Earthquake could be very important in this matchup for Jamie to land a stun that is not on diminishing return with others for Alec to set up a Chaos Bolt. Zeepai now with Stormkeeper up, wants to get some damage out. Sky Fury Totem boosting the damage even further as they burst down Alec, but Alec in a good position for Asgarath to immediately recover.
That Looney once again trying to sneak away for a drink. He managed to get a huge drink there. ABC found some pressure, but Looney was able to stabilize. Now once again drinking to full. Good mana lead here for Wildcard Gaming, but ABC's not doing too bad. Asgarath's been doing a great job getting some drinks as well. Now I really am curious to see who gets the late game advantage. Incarnation gets used by Maro. This is Wildcard Gaming's opportunity to push. Alec has been sitting on the Infernals as well as his Dark Soul, and I really feel like what ABC's game plan is, they want to secure the midfield, allowing Asgarath to go for drinks, and when Wildcard Gaming gets too aggressive, Alec can use all of his offensive cooldowns to counter pressure, force Wildcard Gaming to retreat, and at that point it might just be too late.
Yeah, the meta is all about making a giant wave push deep in, dampening and overwhelming your opponent with both defense and offense activated. If you make a mistake before you try to make a big play like that, you don't have your defense to trade while you push forward, you're going to get overwhelmed by the opposing side. And right now, they're in a decent spot as far as both teams are concerned. They have enough defense to push forward and get aggressive. I'm curious to see if Alec uses these Infernal timings right now when it's available, and then maybe looks for them again by putting them on cooldown sooner, or if he's going to hold on to this Infernal until maybe another 15% dampening and make a big push. Either way, Wildcard Gaming's damage is finally starting to stick here at 48% dampening, which means Alec will be put on a clock for this aggressive play. He's been passive throughout the entire entire fight, but eventually will have to make a decision. And at this deep of dampening, when he makes it, if it's the wrong one, it's going to be the end of the game for him.
Yeah, very scary situation to be in. Jamie trying to toss some heals, top himself off. Zeepai, Morrow positioned once again at the pillar, just line of sighting as many spells as possible. Alec and Jamie actually getting bursted down here. Jamie may have overstayed his welcome. Confidence in the early game can result in death in the late game, especially at 51% dampening. Asgrath forced to trade out his Iron Bark in order to keep Jamie alive as he looks to kite away and finally avoid some of the damage in this game. Morrow still doing a good job, basically forcing both Alec and Jamie super defensive, and now ABC, they're on the full retreat.
Yeah, most certainly are. And I mean, maybe Wildcard Gaming overextend, and that could be an opportunity for Alec to sneak in some Chaos Bolts, managing to get one on Zeepai. Zeepai desperately trying to get back to the corner, but Ursul's Vortex out in center field. That could have been a good opportunity to go all in with a Lightning Lasso on Zeepai. Would have liked to see that. We see Dark Soul from Alec before Call Infernal, so he's trying to bait some defensive cooldowns with this, but he's not in line of sight of anything and really can't get anything with it, so he just basically loses that. But it is a smaller cooldown, and what I mean is that it's going to be available in another minute and 39, unlike Call Infernal, which I believe is a 3 minutes. So by using that ahead of the Call Infernal, at least he's more likely to see it again.
Yep, Alec in the midfield. This is a scary situation for him to really be in, and that's why he doesn't want to push in any longer. If Alex isn't going to fully commit, he can't just sit in the midfield at 57% dampening. And I really am curious which one of these teams is going to go aggro first. Mari does have the Incarnation, but I feel like both teams are waiting to counter-engage. No one wants to fully commit. Both Druids are doing healthy on mana, and everyone is just hiding at the pillar at this point. Alec summoning his Fell Hunter, potentially looking for some damage. Interrupted now onto Jamie, who found a Lightning Lasso onto Zeepai. We tell Wildcard Gaming they just want to slow down some of this damage. Alec finding a Chaos Bolt on tomorrow. Decent amounts of pressure. And at this point, it's going to be really scary for Looney to heal through this pressure. Already trading out the Iron Bark. Barkskin got used as well. No team wants to fall behind. Who's going to fall first, Sid?
Yep, damage becomes much more important than healing this deep in dampening, because your healing is just reduced by 62%. So those Chaos Bolts that Morrow munched on are not going to be a snack that he wants to eat later on in the game. He's definitely going to want to be in bear form for that big burst to reduce its incoming damage and stabilize with a frenzied regeneration. We see Zeepai and Morrow getting a little bit more curious in terms of trying to push. They have left the corners and gotten into center field, but this is actually where Alec wants them. So I'm not sure if they should be out here or just wait for their opponents. They are starting to actually fall behind on mana a bit. Fortunately for Looney, he's got 2 innervates, one from his own innervate and one from Morrow, which is currently activated. So he gets a bit of free healing here to recover from the burst. And I think we may be breaking dampening records in this game unless ABC decide to get aggressive soon.
Well, this is the thing. Alec doesn't want to push in too far, because if he does, then Morrow and Zeepai get to use the pillar. That's an opportunity for them. Alec wants to pull away, forcing Zeepai and Morrow in the open so they can actually take some Chaos Bolt damage, but no team really wants to budge. Zeepai using his burst, charging into midfield. Looney moves in for a bash onto Jamie. Big damage coming in from Wildcard Gaming. Incarnation is available. If Morrow can get the Iron Bark from Asgrath, I really feel like that's what they're waiting for. Once the Iron Bark fades from Asgrath, Morrow's likely to use his Incarnation and try to close out this game. But this is a scary situation to be in. Alex still has his Infernals, his Dark Souls. Jamie's on the run, healing surge on himself. Can Asgrath keep him alive? He doesn't have the Iron Bark, so Jamie's actually in a lot of trouble. In the meantime, Zeepai taking some damage. Infernals gets used by Alec. He decides to pull the trigger on his defensive cooldowns. Both Shamans could fall at any minute. Astral Ship activated for both of them. These Druids just can't heal through this damage anymore. Jamie gates away. He's trying to kite everyone through Alex, who has his Dark Soul up, but Zeepai, Morrow, and Looney are able to deny, and both of these Druids are almost completely tapped on mana.
Well, Alec ran away during his Call Infernals, so that's pretty bad for ABC. He waited this long and then completely whiffed on the Infernals, and 74% dampening. I don't think he's going to get a second chance at that, which is a big opportunity for Zeepai right now. He can carry the team. He's got Stormkeeper. He's got Sky Fury shortly. Maybe they just close it out here and now. Tons of damage as Alec is likely to fall even through the defensive both Unending Resolve and Ironbark. Maybe not, perhaps. Alec hangs on. Morrow is now getting counter-pressured. ABC take the hit and then come back swinging. Both Druids basically tapped on mana. I'm almost wondering if it's possible for their teams to go back to to full health at this point.
I don't think so. It's 77% dampening. This is absolutely absurd. I don't think we've seen it this high in quite some time. Jamie's still low. Moonfire killing him. Flame Shock killing him at this point. Alec gets interrupted with Asgarath. Every little move these teams make matters so much. Bash onto Jamie's Lightning Lasso. Jamie knocks him into the open, still trying to avoid some damage. Asgarath has a little bit of mana. That's going to be the capstun onto Jamie. Cyclone onto Alec. Good control from Wildcard Gaming. Z-Fi low, though, at critical health. Looney trying to stabilize him. Nice stun coming in from Jamie. Z-Fi trying to line of sight, still just trying to avoid Alec at all costs. Alec is sitting duck in midfield. If they can keep up the pressure on him, that's definitely a pressure point for ABC from Wildcard Gaming.
Ooh, Alec is exposed here. He's caught in the Lightning Lasso. Maledix is soaking up the healing. They secured that on the Dispel. They can't heal through it. They got no mana. Everyone might just die in this game at this point. We might even see a 1v1 between Asgarath and Looney at this point as the pressure keeps staying this high at 82% dampening. Jamie and Z-Pi trade equally as they desperately try to hold on and stabilize behind the pillar. Both teams retreating away to try and get back as much health as they can. But even Dots at this point is going to close the match out. The Druid simply can't heal anymore. 84% dampening. Lightning Lasso secured first for Jamie. Maro dips low. He's got renewal, but at 84% dampening, it doesn't do very much. Jamie could fall. Maro could fall. Alec could fall. Anybody could fall, but Jamie falls first. Alec gets solar beamed. He can't secure any damage, and the counter aggression is going to fail. Wildcard Gaming.
That is a record of last year. That might be
the world record.
That might be the record of all time. I didn't even know how to count that high. I've never needed to count that high until this moment. Wildcard Gaming going to be able to take it down, and ultimately that's going to come off the back of you see a Destruction Warlock play like an Arcane Mage.
Yep.
That's your analysis?
That's perfect. That's perfect analysis. Well, honestly, Alec, I want to see just more AoE, more Cataclysms, more aggressive plays, going for more Shadow Furies. This point in the game, they just all retreat. And like you guys already mentioned, the instant damage from Z-Pi and from Maro is just, that's all you really need. You see here, Z-Pi is chasing Alec around the pillar, trying to press Lightning Lasso. Jamie does the same thing to Maro. Maro, you know, activating that renewal, just anything, any tiny little bit of healing. And what it comes down to as well is that Asgarath was drinking there towards the end of that one. Instead of tossing out that little bit of healing that he had available, Looney was playing aggressive, trying to bash, trying to assist with that damage, using his HP bar kind of to put his team ahead. So it's just small things like that in that deep into dampening that really comes and makes it the difference.
Yeah, I mean, you can sneeze on somebody that late into dampening and the damage isn't going to be able to be repaired, right? And I think the main thing that we need to notice, first of all, you guys just witnessed history, but then we look a few seconds ahead into what we're about to see in the next matchup, and the question is it going to be that same, all of a sudden we get to like 70% dampening and we see the Boomkin want to turn into a turret popping Incarnation, we see the Warlock wanting to turn into the turret, dropping that Supremacy empowered Infernal, going for Chaos Bolt after Chaos Bolt inside of Dark Soul, and both the Shamans are just on the chopping block? Or do you think we actually see a strategy change?
Well, I feel like if ABC locks in this composition, once again, we need to see Alec moving in for his team. Destruction Warlocks, they don't fall easily, so you actually can push in. You can look for Fears, for Mortal Coils, for Shadow Furies to set up your team, try to find some burst damage, and Alec was just playing that way too passive. He thought maybe he would just get a free win later on in the game, but that's just not the case. He has to actually try to make some moves in this matchup to close it out.
Yeah, I was playing last night with Sid and Colo, and time again, both of them just yelling at me, no, just don't even worry. Just stand in midfield. Just cast your Chaos Bolts. What is it about the Warlock that allows him to typically go for plays like that? That's obviously not what we saw here. We know Alec is newer to the Warlock, but what is it about Warlock that allows them to really go for plays like that, putting themselves in danger to create even more danger?
Well, recently added honor talent, Demon Armor, increases the armor, but more importantly, the max health of the Warlock, along with the Azerite traits, which have increased the max stamina for all classes. So this percentage-based health increase just means they're beefy and probably have more health than tanks in that regard, so it makes them quite durable. They also have a lot of percentage health-based healing with an absorb shield that stacks over time and scales off their max health. Because of this, they are in that band or that bucket of classes that has a lot of just max health and percentage health based healing, and they're self-sustainable in that regard, so they can go basically where another class, something like a marksmanship hunter, wouldn't be able to do. So they fall into that bucket list along with Death Knights and Demon Hunters, which is why we see them so prevalently.
Yeah, you got the fellow armor, you got the demon skin, like you got pretty much everything that you do need. Okay, Zico, what do we expect to see in the next matchup? Do you think comps actually change? I mean, ABC, we kind of wanted to see this comp from them. We've been asking to see Alec on this on the desk constantly. Do they play it again?
Well, I think this was the matchup that they wanted, because we've seen ABC, they like to play Mage, Ellie, Resto Druid, but we also saw Wildcard Gaming beat out Method Black with this matchup. Moonkin, Ellie, Resto Druid against Mage Ellie. That has been their counter pick against the Mage Ellie. And they were clearly expecting a Mage Ellie, Wildcard Gaming, to be facing that. So this was kind of the curveball from ABC, but the curveball just wasn't curvy enough.
Yeah, I've said that so many times in my life. And now looking at Wildcard Gaming, on their pick, Dalaran Sewers, tight quarters, we don't expect the dampening to be nearly as high on a small map like that.
Don't jinx it yet.
I don't think we're going to get to 86% dampening. That's what we need now for a new record, right?
Yeah, that's the official new record.
85?
85. Yeah,
85?
last year it was 83% was the all-time record.
Was that XRB as well?
Yeah, it's XRB and Method Black.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Of course it's Looney.
Of course it's
Zalzek's Veiled Eye.
And both of those teams here today, both of them still enjoying the same play style. And that is something that we've really seen from Looney. He does thrive in a lot of these dampen metas. And it's one of those questions when you're a team like ABC, do you really want to try to out-dampen Looney when he's chilling in his dampening cave, just sipping on a nice coconut water with a little umbrella in it? Like, that's just Looney all day long.
Well, Looney was very comfortable in that matchup, as we saw. He was the one, like Zico sort of said, he pushed in and got the offensive bashes, giving his team a slight edge when it comes to offense. He wasn't afraid to take a little bit of that damage. He could use his health in exchange for more offense on some of those DPS players. So Looney obviously knows what he's doing at this point in the game. ABC, the only real reason I could see them wanting to continue to play against Wildcard Gaming with the setup is because they feel like they have a compositional advantage, and they could potentially. I just feel like a lot of it comes down to Alec really not playing aggressive when he needed to.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing that we've heard on the desk, is if you guys could change one thing, it would be aggression coming out on the side of Alec. Wildcard Gaming here, Blizzo going to be on that Monk, Z-Pi going to be on that Death Knight. ABC, because they did just lose, get to pick with full information. We're going to keep our eyes stuck right there trying to see what they do ultimately decide to employ. But Zico, I am curious with how Alec played Warlock. Let's say they have comp advantage time and time again in this series, and we see Alec on the Warlock. With how he played, is it possible for them to win this series?
Well, I wouldn't say it's impossible, right? But I don't think, first of all, that we're going to see a Warlock against this. We're going to see, this, Mage Ellie. And the way that you want to play the Warlock when you play that match one is you want to have the Warlock on this side, you want to have your Ellie Shaman on this side, the enemy team is behind this pillar, and then you want to just try to snipe them, get a Shadow Fury. If they try to dodge that, then you have Jamie with the Stormkeeper zapping away. You can drop the Earthquakes, just try to get that AoE pressure going, and that's pretty much how you want to set it up. Eventually, one of those stunts is going to land, or a double Mortal Coil, and that's when you can get a Chaos Bolt, and deep in dampening, that's your win condition. However, I just gotta give Wildcard Gaming props, because their picks have really been good in this tournament and in the previous one. This is what they did to Method Black. In the previous tournament, Method Black locked in a small map, thinking, hey, we're gonna be playing our composition now. This is our map pick. But Wildcard Gaming just flopped it on its head, picked a melee cleave on there, and that's the strength of having the 2 caster comp on your team, but also the 2 melee comp, and then having a healer like Looney, like Chaz, like Gorecki, who can just flex between the Monk, between the Resto Shaman, between the Resto Druid, depending on what map pick and what comp pick you have. So Wildcard Gaming, even though that this is a matchup that we would say favors the double caster, because of the small map, all of a sudden Wildcard Gaming still has a really good chance at winning this if they play it correctly.
I mean, you look at Wildcard Gaming and you look at Method Black and you say this is the reason that they are the 2 top teams in Europe, and you look at ABC and you look at what they have, and you almost say that, you know, in certain ways, they are very different than Wildcard Gaming in a lot of ways, but they're almost a budget Method Black. You look at the comps that they do have. I mean, time and time again, you kind of do say that. They're stuck in this slump. How on earth do they break out of it?
I don't know. A lot of practice, a lot of dedication. We know these guys are phenomenal players. They just have to put the pieces together and try to overcome some of these top dog teams like Wildcard Gaming and Method Black. And I feel like in this particular matchup, ABC, they have a decent answer, but like Zico kind of talked about, Wildcard Gaming with the Windwalker Death Knight composition on Dalaran Sewers is going to be particularly strong, especially what ABC is bringing. Even though you would think ABC on paper has a big advantage in terms of comps, this map sort of swings the tide in Wildcard Gaming's favor.
And the reason for that, of course, if you guys don't know, is because Asgaraf is not going to be able to sneak away and get those drinks, which means that the Mistweaver, due to the mana changes, is going to be able to outlast him. And also Alec, of course, won't have such an easy time getting away from the Windwalker and the DK.
Yeah, this is a great map if you are Wildcard Gaming, and this is something that we've seen the top teams really doing a lot this season. I feel like we've seen it even more than before. They see that map, and that changes everything. Like, all of a sudden, they see the map, and they go, okay, we're not going to go on the same script that we were running with. We're going to just make sure that we play to the map, and we just take one of the factors that traditionally the losing team has as an advantage. We're going to take that away from them. We're going to make that ours, and we'll let them pick into what we have brought. Wildcard Gaming showing once again why they consistently have made it to the top placings in these tournaments, why they already have accrued 180 points in this season, looking to catch up to Method Black, who has 240. And ABC, this is just such a good matchup for Wildcard Gaming to take. If they do get this one, Sid, you have to look at them for the rest of the tournament and just say it looks very realistic that they do pull ahead.
I mean, I'm actually expecting Wildcard Gaming to win this, and then ABC are like, okay, we can't pick a small map because you'll cleave us. We'll pick a big map, but I think they just out-wizard them. I think Wildcard Gaming is just superior in every single facet possible. So ABC, they've been the team that always likes to stall and drag the fight out, but it just doesn't work for them anymore.
It doesn't seem like this is going to be one that goes back and forth comp to comp. It looks like it is just going to be a case where we see Wildcard Gaming holding a hand that is fully stacked as they enter Dalaran Sewers and decide to try to cleave down ABC.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're in the upper bracket, halfway through the day. More series on their way. Will ABC find a way to outplay, or will they get slain? We will find out momentarily.
Yeah, and again, we see Wildcard Gaming now pushing forward, trying to get some pressure going onto Alec. The main win condition here is, of course, to set up those big damage combos. As we see, Blizzo taking a huge amount of damage.
Big exchange early on by ABC, finally not pulling any punches. If they can dish out enough damage like that, again, it's going to be an opportunity to just close this game out here quite quickly. Blizzo pinned down at the pillar. Alec is playing a lot more aggressively, and maybe we can attribute that to him playing on the Frost Mage, his home base. This is his main specialization, his main class. He is dealing out devastating pressure currently against Wildcard Gaming.
And you can just see how much more comfortable Alec is going to feel. He pulls so many defensive cooldowns, really only committing that ray of frost there. He still is going to have those icy veins, which can create so much more pressure. Now it is going to be Blizzo who tries to go on the offensive, but the main reason he is trying to do that is to mitigate some of the pressure that's on him. This orb is doing so much damage. Wildcard Gaming, though, going to be able to get everybody topped off. They're going to be able to brush off that push. Asgrath is going to have to use a cooldown of his very own.
Yeah. And now we see again a new push onto Alec. Asgaraf is going to be drinking, so Blizzo and Zipa are going to try to punish that, and they manage to force out the temporal shield, maybe. Looney, though, activating that life cocoon right before he gets polymorphed up. Very nicely done. And now we're going to see Alec in a little bit of trouble. Nice ring of peace as well by Blizzo. Couldn't net them anything. We might see the temporal shield, not even going to be able to use it. Alec now going to reverse the pressure back onto Blizzo.
Yeah, and ultimately here we see that pre-life cocoon be an absolute 200 IQ play. Blizzo is so clearly the target, though, for ABC. They want to take down this monk. That is who they try to get the kill on. But when we look for Wildcard, who are they going to try to put the pressure on? Are they going to focus on the mage here?
I mean, that's what it looks like throughout most of this fight, but Blizzo just can't stay out long enough to really get anything going. Alec is soaking up a huge hit with Temporal Shield. That bounces him back to full, basically for free. Blizzo is trying to get some momentum here with Touch of Death currently activated, about to connect, but Alec blinks away from Zeepai right before it explodes, so he splits up some of that coordinated effort from Wildcard Gaming. Alec doing a great job on this mage, definitely performing much superiorly over his Warlock.
Yeah, it's beautiful to see him back on the Frost Mage. He looks super comfortable, even on this map where he is going to be a target for Wildcard Gaming. You see Alec again getting double leg sweeped here. Blizzard's trying to reverse some of that pressure. He's doing a good job with it. Has to activate his diffused magic though to kind of stay on target there, as we see Asgaraf's Ironbark is going to come up. We can see Asgaraf now is going to try to top off his team. Then he's going to most likely go behind there and look for a drink. And now he is sitting down for a drink. Zeepai though, all over that. He's going to try to shut that down, putting Asgaraf back in combat, and Blizzo is trying to reverse that pressure. Alec though going to be able to deflect with a Temporal Shield.
It is clear why Blizzo is the preferred kill target, though. So much pressure going out on him time and time again. But we look at ABC, and this is night and day. They are on their mains here, and you can definitely feel it. Alec is actually doing stuff. You saw him so scared on that Warlock, not even casting many Chaos Bolts until he got to like 70% dampening. And even there, when he does drop the Infernals with Supremacy, he's not able to get anything done. This is what we want to see from Alec.
Well, it comes down to comfort. I mean, you can play your ult, do well on the ladder, but when you're playing against some of the best players in the game, you need to have that confidence in order to push in. And of course, Alec on that Frost Mage, this is no strange composition. This is no strange class to him. He knows exactly what he's doing. Nice double leg sweep going to be secured there by Blizzo as he's trying to pressure down Alec in this matchup. In terms of mana, once again, Looney does have a lead. Preemptive Life Cocoon gets traded out by Looney onto Blizzo as he was caught into the polymorph. Nicely done. And we're seeing a lot of high-level Mistweaver plays from the various monks in this tournament. Before they go into crowd control, they just throw out the Life Cocoon, keep their team alive, forcing them to still allow them to play aggressive in these matchups, which is really important.
Looney has read every single incoming CC on him beautifully. I don't even think he's had to use his trinket yet. Just every single time he's like, yeah, I'll sit that. Life Cocoon's going out. I see it coming a mile away. Looney looks so fantastic, not only in dampening. Looney just looks fantastic as one of these. He's very similar to Botar. They don't necessarily need to be flashy, but they just make the right play on script time and time again. Now Blizzo going to go in, try to get some pressure rolling. He's got the Touch of Death, and he is getting a decent amount of that damage done, but he's getting some pressure returned on him.
Yeah, most certainly, and it's really been Wildcard Gaming on the back foot in terms of defensive cooldown management. However, they are winning on the mana front against Asgarath, which is the advantage of this map and why Wildcard Gaming went with a cleave setup, even though they knew they'd be facing a wizard cleave composition, locking this in blind. Alec tries to get some counter aggression going, but gets denied by the leg sweep. Alec needs to get some room to breathe here. He wants to get a lot of damage out with this Icy Veins, but he's being interrupted multiple times. It's really Jamie carrying Alec in this position. He's unable to really counter-aggress, but maybe potentially they take Blizzo out. Looney's still locked down in crowd control. Anti-magic zone here. This purple shield protecting Blizzo and allowing him to stabilize, but heavy overlap in terms of the defense of Wildcard Gaming once again.
Yeah, and look at Asgaraf again, sneaking away in stealth, trying to find an opportunity to drink. Looney actually gonna try to chase him down, but Asgaraf was smart enough to not sit down and drink there. Instead, he just ran away in stealth and tried to drink somewhere else. Now, Looney, of course, knows about that, so he's once again chasing Asgaraf. You can see it's a game of cat and mouse as Blizzo gets caught up in another lightning lasso, but there's also a stun on Alec by Zeepai, trying to slow that down. Asgaraf gonna be sitting down on the opposite side again to get that drink. He has been looking for it for a long time, but he hasn't been able to find it so far. As long as Wildcard Gaming keeps stopping those drinks, they're going to be in a good spot to actually win this match.
Yeah, and Alec has actually made some really interesting talent choices in this matchup, something we haven't seen a lot of mages implement, and I actually totally agree with it. He's actually playing Lonely Winter, so he no longer has the water elemental, and it's going to allow him to empower his Ice Lances. All his Azurite traits as well are focused on that Ice Lance damage with Whiteout as well as Packed Ice. That's going to just empower his instant cast damage, as casting Frostbolts in this matchup when he's being trained down is very unlikely to actually put out any sort of significant pressure. In addition to that, he's also playing Netherwind Armor, so that's a defensive mage talent. Reduces the chance he will suffer a critical strike by 15%, and I think all of those little things add up to be quite significant in a matchup like this.
It just shows his expertise on the mage as well, Zico, and we're seeing where a lot of that pressure is coming from.
And the other thing as well is that he is not playing the Comet Storm, so that means he is playing Freezing Rain. Whenever he activates his orb right there, you're going to see an instant cast Blizzard probably right there, and that means that whenever Alec goes for that Frozen Orb play, he's going to have big Ice Lance damage, and then he's also playing a build that's going to allow him to reset his Frozen Orb. You can see it's already down to 30-second cooldown. Very effective against DKs, and now, speaking of DKs, Zipa's going to have to activate that Anti-Magic Shell because Jamie is doing tons and tons of damage.
Yep, fair trade though on Zipai's part. Mana is evening out here deep into Dampening, and ABC are looking a lot stronger on this composition. Alec on the mage definitely doing work here in game number 2 as Zipai is getting bursted. Ray of Frost, double Maledict. Is he going to be able to hang on that anti-magic zone right before the Lightning Lasso? Good moves by Zipai that allows him to stay alive throughout that attack, but now in desperation they death grip in Asgarath to try and build some momentum, but he's able to easily escape. Now they have to switch their attention to Alec. At 22% dampening, if they can't start forcing ice blocks, I don't think they'll be able to take this. The counter pressure certainly in favor of ABC. They have improved immensely at this composition.
And also, look, they've started to maybe switch their target a little bit, getting a lot of that pressure out onto Zipai. As we get later into Dampening, Zipai is going to be a very good target. Swap back to Blizzo now, and we can see once again ABC knowing exactly what they want to do with their main comp.
Yeah, and Alec is very durable. I really feel like that Netherwind Armor choice is really good. It's one of the most underrated honor talents that mages have, and I think when you're soaking up damage the entire game, like I said, that damage reduction really adds up. Alec's still trying to build some damage onto Zipai, and Zipai and Blizzo really haven't been able to get too much rolling. Once again, Zipai under fire, taking quite a bit of burst. Asgarath's mana doing even with Looney. Neither healer has really been able to drink too much in this matchup. Right now, Looney's trying to escape, but unfortunately for him, Asgarath makes sure to shut that down, and now Looney won't be able to secure a mana lead.
Looney has at least kept his mana even with Looney, which is much more, or Looney has kept his mana equal with Asgarath, which is definitely a testament to Asgarath's capability. As on this map, it is so difficult to actually sit down for a drink, but ultimately deep in Dampening, now that they've switched some of their damage and attention to Zipai, Death Strike is so much less so potent that he may ultimately fall. Pressure in favor of Wildcard Gaming. Ring of Peace knocking Alec down the side to avoid any pressure of Jamie. He's desperately trying to get in a better position to counter-aggress this push, but they may be running out of time. Asgarath is tapped.
Yeah, Lightning Lasso going to be secured onto Blizzo by Jamie. Still decent pressure coming in from ABC. Looney almost completely tapped on mana, but Blizzo still has a lot of offensive cooldowns, ready to make a push, but they really haven't been able to get too much from Alec this entire game. Alec's been doing a good job keeping up his damage, keeping up the crowd control, staying alive. Finally, Zipai and Blizzo able to connect. Decent damage coming out. Asgarath completely tapped on mana at this point, and his innervate's over, so now Alec could be in a lot of trouble. Although they managed to stay alive and save all these ice blocks, this could just be the momentum swing that we see. Wildcard Gaming could pull out both ice blocks here on the fact that Asgarath has basically no mana left.
Huge Ice Lance damage. That build that Alec is running is super effective in this matchup. They ice block the Touch of Karma. Blizzo's in trouble. He's out of line of sight, but that Ray of Frost was perfectly timed. Can Jamie move in and thunderstorm Blizzo out into the open? Doesn't seem to be available. Blizzo is actually just going to charge into the fight, trying to find a kill while Alec is on hypothermia and unable to use his second ice block. It's a race against the clock. Is this Fist of Fury going to deal enough damage? No. Jamie with the perfect Traveling Storms, thunderstorm into Lightning Lasso, pausing the damage potentially for hypothermia to run out. Alec needs a couple more seconds. Anti-magic zone. Good blink by Alec out of its defense. Polymorph now secured. Alec doing everything in his power to win this game for his team.
Yeah, nice polymorph onto Looney. Blizzo could still be in some trouble. He's at the pillar, manages to top himself off, but he really doesn't have too much defense. Wanting to make a push. Alec gets interrupted on Frost. Still can't use the ice block. Now forced into his second ice block of the game, and it is very unlikely that he gets a third one. All of a sudden, things are looking good for Wildcard Gaming. Blizzo can just run and hide. Karma's coming up in 30 seconds. At that point, I think Wildcard Gaming is going to be feeling more than confident enough to just put the final nail in the coffin onto Alec.
Asgarath got a tiny bit of mana, but maybe that tiny bit is enough to stay alive. If they lose this game, it's absolutely devastating for the rest of the series. Two members of Wildcard Gaming connect. There's really not much left. Mind Freeze on Asgarath's heel. Jamie is trying to back him up. Alec lands a counterspell. He's on 10%, trying to get any opportunity he can for his team, but ultimately, Wildcard Gaming are all over him, and there is nothing left for Asgarath. He connects one more Swiftmend to somehow stay alive in the fight. These nourishes keep getting shut down by Zeepai. Alec actually stays alive. Zeepai in trouble now. Looney doesn't have anything left. Alec blinks back upstairs, gets Ring of Peace downstairs, not able to kite and avoid any damage now as a result. Asgarath trinkets to desperation. He bashes the Windwalker Blizzo to stop any amount of damage that he can to buy a little bit more opportunity for ABC to stay alive.
Alec uses the Icy Veins. They're trying to counter pressure. Can they take down Zeepai? He has nothing left. One Maledict connects. Alec, can he pull off a miracle, surviving so late into dampening? Zeepai might ultimately fall. Looney has nothing for him, and ABC, they pull off the miracle game. Beautiful play tying up the series.
I have to say, major shout out to Jamie there. You look at Jamie and he's just playing goalkeeper. It allows them to extend to the point that not only can Alec use defensive cooldowns, but he can get offensive. He can counter pressure. You see so many of those thunderstorms coming in clutch, and ultimately ABC, night and day. Just night and day with this composition and the one that we saw in the blind.
Yeah, it's a very clever build that Alec was running. Jamie played his role perfectly, trying to counter pressure, also landing a couple of crucial hexes onto Looney. And then, of course, I think the big turning point in this matchup was when Asgarath managed to get that drink right before this moment, where he had enough mana to just stabilize Alec for a little bit longer to allow him to get to this point where he could get another Frozen Orb. And then here, of course, the Frozen Orb, the Maledict, the Blizzard as well, snaring everybody up, managing to finally take Zeepai down at 48% dampening. Zeepai as well, anti-magic shell coming up in a couple of seconds there in the end. Very, very close there.
Now, when we do actually look at this, we need to start thinking about what the rest of the series is going to look like, but you're going to have a few seconds to actually put on your thinking caps and try to figure that out. We're going to jump to a quick break. And
the trade and the honor talent that goes along with it. It's a nice middle ground composition by ABC, but it's one that we have not seen play out yet in the meta, let alone this matchup in particular with a Balanced Druid Elemental Shaman. So it's hard to call, and this is the swing match. You don't want your swing match to be hard to call if you're Wildcard Gaming.
A lot of firsts inside of this series. We get to 85% dampening in game number 1, and we see Alex Warlock. Now we get here and we see something interesting from ABC. With Wildcard Gaming, though, this is going to be a composition that we are relatively used to. We know how it does play out. We're going to see Morrow on that Moonkin, something that can make it into dampening, something that can get these big pushes with Incarnation, obviously paired up with Zeepai, who can also go into dampening, have this explosive damage that can catch you off guard. But you look at ABC, they're not playing for dampening here, Zico, are they?
I think both teams to some degree are playing for dampening. I think ABC, though, they can just train Morrow down pretty comfortably. They're going to force him to be in bear form for a lot of the game. Similarly to what we saw happen to the last Moonkin Fnobbers on Dalaran Sewers against the Rogue Mage. I think you can see something similar happen here, where they can just make the Moonkin, an Asherman's Fall, sorry, in the previous years. I think we can see something similar here tomorrow. On that Moonkin gets shut down very, very hard, and Ellie Shaman has a lot of damage, a lot of burst, just like a Frost Mage, and of course the Assassination Rogue is going to be the same, the rest of the Druid is going to be the same, so I don't feel like too much has changed in that regard, and I think now ABC has taken the smaller map and kind of put Wildcard Gaming in an awkward slot. I would have much rather seen Wildcard Gaming look in a big map, force ABC on their wizards, because you know their wizard comp, it is the Mage Ellie. What are you afraid of? The Warlock Ellie? You just beat that on Nagrand. So you could take it to a big map, you could lock in the Boomkin and the Ellie from Wildcard Gaming, and you're going to have a big advantage that way. Instead, they go with the small map.
Yeah, you force wizards and you force that map out. Instead, though, we are going to see Hook Point. Size, small. It is by far the smallest map in the pool. There are a few bullet points that aren't here. This map is excellent. This map is outstanding. Fenruki. Fenruki.
Yes?
What do you think of Hook Point?
Well, I don't know how I feel about it. I really wonder what they were trying to set up on this map. That's my main concern, is just I don't really know what Wildcard Gaming was trying to set up. This definitely, I don't think, is an ideal matchup for them. I think they may have been caught off guard with what ABC was going to bring, and now we'll have to see.
We will have to see. The gates about to open here, and you can hear the crowd going wild. What is that chant I hear in the distance? Bok, 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 bok. A cry, crying for death, for blood. Who will fall? Wildcard Gaming, ABC, all tied up 1-1.
Yeah, and what we expect in this matchup is Nixie having high uptime on Morrow. And if he can keep Morrow in a very defensive stance in bear form, it's really going to limit the amount of offensive potential that Wildcard Gaming has available. So on paper, I actually feel like ABC has the compositional advantage.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with that statement. A nice counter bash there from Morrow, step kick from Nixie, blind on Looney. He's going to trinket out of that. Very fair trade. So neither Druid is going to end up in a crowd control. And the first Maledict is being launched. Is that going to get comboed with any more? Does not seem to be the case. Nixie kind of pulling the trigger a little bit preemptively there. Nope, there's the next Maledict. Gets dispelled though as that dispel cooldown is coming back up. Incarnation now being pressed as well by Morrow, looking for big damage. Looney though gonna get shut down again by Jamie. Beautiful place there, making sure that Looney cannot land that bash cyclone as we see another Maledict flying in. Everybody is playing super aggressive in this match.
Yeah, definitely. You can see Jamie was in a little bit of trouble, already used the Astral Shift, but as Garath, he does have the Iron Bark to deflect the next attack if he really needs to. And Morrow using his Incarnation, I feel like Jamie made a very fair trade. Looney with no trinket, susceptible to some crowd control. Nice bash being put on a Nixie to slow him down, but ABC has most of the pressure in this matchup so far. Although Morrow and Zeepai just got topped off quite easily by Looney, so we'll have to see what can get done. Kidney shot now secured onto Zeepai. And this is what happens. If you leave Morrow open for too long, he's going to be able to get these cyclones, which can be devastating to slow down some of the pressure that ABC has available.
Yeah, and it really comes down to drinks as well. We're going to keep our eyes open on both Druids as Asgraf is chasing Looney, trying to land that bash cyclone, trying to fake cast the wind shear of Zeepai. Zeepai, though, very calm with his wind shear. Gonna hold that for later. Now we see Looney going in for the bash. Not gonna try to follow that up with a cyclone though. And more lassos are flying up. Double lasso actually from both the elemental shamans as Nixie takes the brunt of that exchange. But at this point, we're gonna be looking at the mana bar. It's very unlikely that either of teams fall at this point in the game. And instead, we're gonna be looking at who goes for drinks and who gets to stop those drinks. We see Asgraf now trying to stop Looney from getting just that. And both Druids are kind of tied up in mana so far.
Yeah, and with the amount of lassos we've seen in this game so far, things are looking like a rodeo, especially onto Morrow while he's in bear form. And so he moves in, looking to get some pressure rolling once again. Nixie's connecting onto Zeepai, and it looks like ABC, they're turning their attention onto the Elemental Shaman. As soon as I say that, they say, no way, Venruki, you're wrong, and they switch over to Morrow with a full kidney shot. Things get denied. Here we go again. Double lightning lasso. Nixie and Morrow both pinned down in midfield. Really not able to accomplish too much.
Yeehaw, giddy up. We're on the path to dampening. Everybody slinging those lassos all over the place. But here we are going to see Morrow drop that beam down from the sky.
Yeah, and actually, Asgarov is playing the Feral Affinity. We saw him go for that Rake Stun. Now Nixie taking a huge amount of damage there at the back of that Earthshock. Gonna be using his Cloak of Shadows to stabilize there as we see another kidney shot go on tomorrow. And the scary thing is here for Wildcard Gaming is the more dampening stacks up, the harder it will be for Morrow to leave that bear form and actually get this pressure going. So the later the game goes, the more favored I would say ABC is. But if the game goes too far, then I would say the favor swings back in Wildcard Gaming's favor.
I like this swap onto Looney. Now all of a sudden Jamie's damage on Morrow and Zeepai. Looney's falling a little bit further behind. Vendetta was committed there as well. Looney had to trade out his his bark skin, trying to avoid some damage coming in from Jamie, but all three members are chasing him down. Zeepai in the meantime taking quite a little bit of burst, looking for the lightning lasso on Nixie to try to slow down ABC just a little bit. In terms of mana, Asgarath is a little bit behind, but things are relatively even.
Yeah, this is a lot more evenly matched than I would have expected, and this is unfortunate for Wildcard Gaming because this was their map pick. This was their comp advantage. This is the swing match. So ABC bringing in a surprise composition, mixing it up, and now suddenly switching the tables here and taking advantage of the map pick and the comp pick. So ABC definitely still have a couple of tricks up their sleeves against Wildcard Gaming.
Oh, Looney is looking for another drink. If he gets this is big. Look at Maru playing goalkeeper here, cycloning everybody up. But Asgraf, he is on top of things, dropping that vortex where he knows Looney is. Didn't manage to get any mana off the back of that. Now Asgraf looking for a drink himself, but Maru very, very quick there to shut that down as we see the kidney shot lasso comboed onto Zipai by Jamie and Nixie. And another thing to note is that later on in the game when Looney goes for these drinks, if Nixie can vanish and drop a sap, he can actually net his team a big crowd control for free essentially at the back of that. So it can be potentially very scary for Looney to go for those drinks later on. Looney though going to be sitting in that blind. I actually like that because now Nixie's going to force to use his vanish, sap, and if Looney trinkets out of the sap, there we go. Now the threat of him getting sapped when he's drinking is completely gone. Very, very heads up play there from Looney, and that's why he is the king.
Yep, King Looney showing his dominance in this matchup, has a mana lead over Asgarath. Nixie once again caught into the lightning lasso. Zipai trying to get some pressure. Good backup from Jamie. Gets the wind shear instantaneously. Now Marl with his incarnation looking to get kind of aggressive. Looney basically realizing his team with that incarnation, they're going to be able to get some damage out. Now once again looking for the drinks, but Asgarath, he's been doing a great job shutting that down. Nixie even throwing in some distracts. And I think on this map, he can basically throw that distract from any point in the map and slow down Looney as long as he keeps eyes on where he's trying to re-stealth.
Huge swing here for ABC, trying to gun down Zipai and force an astral shift if they can get it just as dampening sets foot, and the mana is so critical for Looney. It could be pivotal in their ability to win this match. If not, Wildcard Gaming will keep their swing match advantage for Game 5. It's of utmost importance that ABC find victory here on Hook Point. Smoke Bomb gets dropped. Zipai thunderstorms, but Nixie immediately reconnects with the Shadow Step. Astral Shift gets traded. Feral Affinity picked from Asgarath. He may be the X Factor to add in some extra damage for his team. Zipai dipping very low on health here,
Jamie.
but now counter-engaging towards Jamie. He ducks around the corner to try and recover. Both teams are unlikely to regenerate mana in this close-quartered combat.
Yep, Asgarath once again in cap form, looking to get some damage rolling for his team. And like you said, Sid, it is unlikely at this point either of these Restoration Druids can really go for a drink. Looney gets caught into the pounce stun, into a full cyclone. Nicely done by Asgarath, setting up his team. Zipai getting low. Lightning Lasso, Zipai doing everything he can to survive. Mara with cyclones on Nixie as well. But now Nixie reconnects with the Garrote Silent. Big pressure. This Assassination Rogue is going to be able to put out huge damage. And ABC, with the swing match victory, turn this series on its head.
And with a very interesting composition as well. This can be something that's very important for them. You talk about momentum now. It's going to be in their favor. ABC going to be on match point here coming out of Game 3.
Yeah, and this was, like you mentioned, the swing match. Very, very crucial victory here for ABC. And they managed to pick in the rogue blindly, and it's kind of, it's very, very clever actually, because it's essentially the rogue mage druid, but without having the kind of pressure point on your team, the weakness on your team of that mage being susceptible, being trained down. If you play this composition with a mage, all of a sudden Wildcard Gaming can lock in the Windwalker Death Knight, and they're gonna have a good time a lot of the time against that comp. But instead, they have the Ele Shaman, much more slippery target, and then instead we have Nixie as well, being very, very tanky on that rogue, being able to kind of add in that extra factor, that extra pressure, as we see Zipai getting caught up here in that Garrote Silence. And just Looney doesn't really have any mana to work with here, doesn't really have anything to go for. And Zipai, he has his trinket, but with no Astral Shift, it's not really going to do much on its own.
And they're going to be in a dominant spot now in this series. You cannot spell alphabet without alpha. Now, ABC, what do they do moving forward here? We've already seen time and time again, not only in this series, but throughout this entire season. As soon as you see a map, you try to pick your composition geared to that. Is that going to be the wave?
Well, I think it depends on what Wildcard Gaming is going to do. Like you said, it really depends on the map. If Wildcard Gaming goes to a big map, I actually don't mind ABC locking in their original blind pick. I mean, when things are at 85% dampening, literally anything can happen. So you can still put that matchup and give ABC a good chance to win it. I mean, they definitely weren't.
You still have your advantage, too.
Exactly. You still have your advantage. You throw in the Destro Warlock. Maybe Alec can play a little bit more aggressive. They learn from some of their mistakes. And if they don't, they still go to 85% dampening or very high dampening. And like I said, anything can happen at that point in the game. So I don't think it's that risky of a call, and that's kind of what I'd like to see ABC pull off.
I think that's smart. I mean, if you do get to 85% dampening, which we're confident that they can do, you might accidentally take somebody down. Like, that is just the nature of getting that deep into dampening. You don't see it very often, but with these two teams, maybe you do see it yet again. Map choice going to be crucial for that, and going to be crucial as to what does get picked. So we're going to see the map in about a minute. Super Tees, what do you want to see? Would you want to potentially see that Warlock come out again, maybe play for late dampening, and just saying, hey, look, even if this is a 50-50, we're at least getting that 50-50 matchup, and we're not squandering any advantage that we do have?
I think it depends on the map. If they pick Tolveron Arena, I want to see Alec on Destruction Warlock. If they pick something neutral or small, then I want to see the Assassination Rogue Elemental Shaman again.
Okay, so even on a neutral map, you want to see that. Okay, what do you think, Zico? Do you think even on a neutral map, they can bring out this comp that they just used to grab a win?
Yes, I think even on a neutral map, you can pick it. Neutral map, so something like Tiger's Peak, or a smaller map. If we see Black Recalled, for example, get locked in, I want to see the Rogue Ellie come out from ABC, and I want to actually see Wildcard Gaming lock in a big map. I want to see Tolveron or Ashamane's Fall, preferably Ashamane's Fall, honestly, and then I want to see them just default to that Moonkin Elemental Shaman. I feel like ABC doesn't have an answer on that. If they pick a small map, then I feel like ABC has a good answer now with the Rogue Ellie, and they've kind of revealed that as well. Whereas if they pick a big map, we don't know what ABC actually has that could be a good answer outside of the Destro Warlock. I mean, sure, they had the matchup favored that way, but they didn't really look that comfortable on that Destro Warlock. So I want to put them in that situation again if I was Wildcard. Instead, they are going to pick Ruins of Lordaeron, which would be
fitting final resting place. Anyways, ABC on this map, I think they can actually set up the Assassination Rogue Elemental Shaman Resto Druid once again. I feel like Wildcard Gaming, they made a bit of a mistake here, because I don't know what composition they have that's going to be super good against what we saw ABC bring in the last game. Potentially try the Windwalker Death Knight, but one thing's for certain, I don't think the Moonkin Elemental Shaman was that great.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with Ben there, and he's just destroyed Sid. So what do you think here, Zico? Moving in for ABC's pick, do you think that they go with that neutral pick and just hang out with the Rogue?
Rogue Ellie.
Yep.
Why not?
Yep, seems right. Wildcard Gaming here, maybe, I mean, hey, they see that, they see exactly what they see. Maybe they say, okay, we go for the small map, we bait that out. How do they potentially counterpick it?
Well, Wildcard Gaming, I'm not sure what they would pick into it, but they have the Ellie Warrior Resto Druid, and I think the Ellie Warrior Resto Druid wouldn't be too bad of an answer actually in this matchup. And that way you also get to see Blizzo on his main, which is definitely interesting. They could also play Windwalker Ellie. Windwalker is a pretty good answer for the Rogue. You can remove some of those poisons. You get a lot of defense as well. Very mobile, high burst. There's definitely some options on the side of Wildcard Gaming. They could also even play Mage Ellie themselves if they wanted to. The Mage Ellie, though, I'm not entirely sold on this map. I would have liked to see a bigger map in that case.
Okay, well, we're going to see ABC stick to the plan. It definitely worked. It grabbed them their last win, and that last win was the swing matchup, so they are going to have momentum on their side. Wildcard Gaming here, they are going to be the mystery. They haven't revealed their hand yet, but we are about to find out what they were thinking, why they brought it to a small map, why they potentially even baited ABC into this while they are on match point, because ABC's composition, if you just look at Ruins of Lordaeron, you love this comp. This is a comp that you do want to have. Both of these teams in the upper portion of the bracket, neither of them have lost a series yet. Whoever does lose this drops down to the lower portion, and whoever does win gets to move on to one of the best seats. You know that you're going to be making it to Sunday to that championship to try to grab the win, and you know you already have that berth into the majority of the points. Wildcard Gaming here running low on time to lock in that composition.
Well, you really want to think about it because they have so many options, and if they lose this, it means they go down to face Method Black. You don't want to go down to face Method Black this early on.
Why not?
I mean, Method Black is like their kryptonite. Last tournament, they found a way to 3-0 them, and then immediately after that, Method Black just evolved and crush them out in the grand final. So Wildcard Gaming at all, both of these teams at all costs have to avoid losing this series, going down to the shark that Method Black is, lurking in the lower bracket waters. I'm scared, and I'm not even playing.
I mean, if you're any other team, though, if you are any other team in this tournament, literally any other team, you want to see Wildcard Gaming drop down, because you look at Wildcard and you look at Method Black, and they have 240 points and 180 points. You knock them down, and you just know that this tournament ends up being a huge payday if you are still in it. You have that chance to start to catch up, to stem the bleeding just a little bit, because what these teams have been able to do in the first 2 cups, it has been quite brutal. It doesn't look like anybody has come close to comparing them. You want to have them on a collision course in the lower portion of the bracket as soon as possible, because it really does seem like they are the only teams that can beat each other so far. ABC, though, looking to change that trend. How do we think this matchup does play out now that we are going to have that Windwalker DK swinging into it?
Well, I think this is a very durable composition. It's been one of the most popular compositions in this particular meta. The Windwalker Monk and the Death Knight, they can keep themselves alive for a long time. They also have really good consistent pressure and decent crowd control as well. Then you have the Restoration Druid. His main job is just going to make sure he can stay alive. If he can live, he's not getting swapped too consistently. I feel like Wildcard Gaming should theoretically have an edge in this matchup.
Yeah, and I think this is the comp that they definitely did have in mind. You could see them taking the full amount of time that they did have to lock in the composition, but it seemed pretty clear that they had a plan to play a composition that wanted to be on this smaller map, to be on Ruins. They knew what ABC was going to do, and I think they really do feel that this does have the upper hand, just like Venruki does.
Yeah, it feels... there's 2 ways that they can go about this. In previous seasons, we've seen the Windwalker DK kind of just chase down healers and play very, very aggressive onto onto Asgarath in this case. I want to see them either implement that strategy, which is a little bit high risk, high reward, but I don't think that's what we're going to see. Typically, when Wildcard Gaming plays the Windwalker DK, they play it a little bit more reserved, and we're going to probably see them chase after Jamie in those stun locks, and then when Jamie slips away, we're going to probably see some switches over onto Nixie, and then they're going to be looking to shut down Asgarath's drink and win on the mana later on in the game.
Which type of Windwalker DK are we going to see? The answer to that question may ultimately show us who is moving forward and who is dropping to the lower portion of our bracket.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is match point for ABC, and Ruins of Lordaeron, as it is a cemetery, would be a fitting final resting place, and I'm speaking quicker than you, Venruki, so you can't steal my line this time. Got him.
Yeah, got him. Blizzo already using the diffuse magic. A little bit of pressure, and I expect in this matchup, Blizzo to be the main pressure point for ABC, trying to get damage rolling onto Wildcard Gaming immediately. Jamie's taking most of the burst, though, as Zeepai and Blizzo just relentlessly training him down. And I'm curious to see which one of these Druids actually ends up having a mana lead. Nixie now, he's going to be sitting on Looney, trying to create some pressure for his team, and maybe just trying to dot up everyone, forcing Looney to keep heal over time effects on all 3 members. A big setup now onto Blizzo. Fortifying Brew should be able to deny it for now. Nixie is still all over Blizzo. Blizzo's getting low, has to use the Fist of Fury defensively. The Turbo Fist ports away, really low on HP. Looney has to reconnect some heals. Blizzo with his Transcendence ports behind the tomb and gets topped off quite quickly by Looney, but that was a very scary setup.
Yeah, Expel Harm and Death Strike are the main defense for both Blizzo and Windwalker, and Death Knight Zeepai. It's going to be very difficult to get through that consistent healing that they bring on those specializations. Equally so, Jamie is running Spectral Recovery, which means his Ghost Wolf heals for percentage-based healing, which makes him quite difficult to take down, and Nixie can bring in the Crimson Vial for a big incoming heal. So both teams bringing similar levels of durability. They both have the Mortal Wounds effect to reduce healing, and I think this is still a pretty evenly fought fight. I'm not sure the best strategy for the side of Wildcard Gaming. Maybe it is to go after Asgarath and also attack Nixie while running at the healer. Currently, they're trying to go after Jamie and cleaving down Nixie, but Blizzo is just taking so much damage.
Yeah, Jamie's not an easy target for the Windwalker Death Knight to go after. Blizzo, depending on his talents, I'm curious to see if he is running the Tiger Eye Brew. Windwalker monks are not known for taking down high armor targets without that Tiger Eye Brew specialization. And I'll be able to tell you guys quite quickly, he's not actually running it. So Blizzo's damage will be limited on Jamie, especially if Jamie is able to kite. Kidney shot now on Blizzo once again. He actually preemptively used the Touch of Karma. Trinkets out, wanting to get really aggressive on Jamie, but Jamie's just been able to so easily kite both Blizzo and Zeepai. Hasn't really been taking too much damage. The only real lead that we see for Wildcard Gaming is the fact that Looney has more mana than Askarath.
Yeah, I mean, that's still a significant advantage, but obviously Wildcard Gaming have been on the back foot defensive cooldown-wise. Finally, securing some double crowd control, touch of death. Big push here for Wildcard Gaming. They have to stay alive in the tournament. If they lose this game, they'll be knocked down to the lower bracket to face against Method Black so early on in the tournament. It would be devastating for either team to have to go head-to-head so soon. Wildcard Gaming are dancing a dangerous dance here on match point against ABC. This composition they broke out has been super effective for them so far, facing down Wildcard Gaming. It could be the X factor to stay alive in the upper bracket. Blizzo once again managing to escape, but for how much longer?
Yeah, I don't know how much longer he's going to have. He still has a diffuse magic. He's trying to kite away, but Nixie just throwing those daggers, keeps the poisons up. Looney escapes, gets the heals he needs onto Blizzo to keep him alive. Turbo Fist as well, parrying all the incoming attacks from Nixie. That new honor talent for Windwalker Monk paying dividends in this matchup for Blizzo, but every time he uses Fist of Fury just to survive, he's missing out on a lot of damage opportunity onto Jamie. So unfortunately for Wildcard Gaming, we haven't really seen too much pressure for them in this matchup. Like we kind of said, the only real pressure point they have is Asgarath's mana, and if he can ever sneak away for a drink, I feel like ABC has this.
Nice thunderstorm on that Raise Abomination. It's getting absolutely no uptime. That's really good defensive management on Jamie's part. His thunderstorms have been critical to his team's victory overall in this series. Perfect Ursul's Vortex timing onto Looney, pinning him out in the open for Jamie to rain down terror with tons of lava burst pressure. Nixie gunning down Looney. Looney trying to jump to safety, but out in the open against Jamie is not that safe. Immediately realizing that's a mistake, tries to duck around the cart in the ooze. Looney cannot afford to make a mistake like that later on.
I'm curious what Nixie just trinketed, actually. I think he may have just trinketed air. I didn't see a stun on him, but I might have missed that. Nixie now with no trinket, no evasion, no cloak of shadows, no feint. Very vulnerable target for Blizzo and Zeepai to take down. They actually have touch of death available too, so potentially might want to commit to a full-on swap over onto Nixie. Doesn't look like it though. Looney throwing a bash onto him, just trying to control him up a little bit. Jamie now caught into the full stun. Nixie uses his vanish, or actually just gets a re-stealth. Try to peel up the team of Wildcard Gaming. Askarath still doing great on mana. Throws out his Iron Bark, full blind on Looney. Is he going to trinket? Looks like he's just going to sit it for now. Really wants to force Nixie to use that vanish like we kind of talked about on the last map, Hook Point. Once Nixie commits his vanish, then Looney's feeling a lot safer to actually use his trinket and escape.
All right, Askarath, you've got very significantly less mana than Wildcard Gaming, Looney's counterpart. There is good openings to kill Nixie moving forward here as his defense is basically cracked wide open. We could even see an attack towards Asgarath deeper into dampening as it has just set into the match. Raise Abomination currently chasing down a target. Curious to see if Jamie uses that thunderstorm to get distance away from it. We do see a swap from ABC going after Looney. They've got Wildcard Gaming on match point. Do they have enough damage to take them out here in game number 4? Potentially they do. Couple Vivifies will not be enough, and Looney falls. ABC's surprise composition. We have not seen it yet in the cup stages of this year's tournament bracket, and it works out for them. They're out of the slump. They broke the curse.
I actually feel like this is a surprise to ABC as well. I don't even know if they knew this composition was good, but pulled it out, quick wit, and they managed to take down Wildcard Gaming. Very impressive performance from ABC, and this is what we wanted to see from them.
Some of the best things in life are surprises. This composition, definitely a surprise.
This is exactly what we wanted to see at the start of the series, when we wanted to know what have they been brewing up in the composition kitchen. This is the type of things we want to see. Alec on the Warlock, the Ellie Rogue Resto Druid as well for the smaller maps. If they can perfect these compositions, they have exactly what they need to actually just dominate in this meta. So they actually knock Wildcard Gaming down to the lower bracket, and this setup here is off the back of Looney trinketing that blind. So Looney trinkets the blind. We see a nice setup here with the kidney shot, the vanish, and the bash as well, and of course those Maledict trinkets as well, soaking up all those hybrid heals while Looney is in lockdown. Just really nice execution on that swap, saving the Vendetta as well for that moment. Really, really clean here from ABC. And guess what? Wildcard Gaming are facing Method Black in the lower bracket, who have Waz and Swapsy, who love this comp. So
yeah,
that's going to be fun.
I mean, this is a composition that they need to find an answer to, and they need to find it quick, because whether or not they can beat it today